The highway stretched ahead like a sentence I didn't want to finish. 4 hours from Chicago to Riverside, Illinois. 4 hours to turn around. 4 hours I didn't take. My name is Katherine Thompson. I'm 32, and I was driving toward a
I'm
Thanksgiving
so
dinner that
glad
I
we could do
knew,
this today, dear.
absolutely knew,
Me
was going
too.
to detonate my
It means a
family.
lot to me.
My phone sat dark in the cup holder, but
Look
I
at the
could still
tablet, it's
see the
all
ghost of
there.
my mother's
I can't
texts
believe
from the
she found
past
out.
week.
What are we gonna
Bella
do?
has exciting news,
Calm
and
down, let's just
family
wait and
should
see
be
what she
together,
says.
Catherine. Family.
I deeply
The
regret my
word
choices.
tasted like copper.
Seeing the pain in
I
your
glanced
eyes,
at
I
the passenger
realized how
seat.
selfish
A
I've
manila
been.
folder stuffed with documents, property records, Thompson residence, 3 weeks of compilation, bank statements, foreclosure notices, payment histories. Everything public, everything legal, everything damning. Evidence of a pattern. A family structure
such a
built on
perfect
making
day
one
out
daughter
here. I
golden
know,
while the
I'm
other
so glad we
disappeared like
came.
wallpaper no one bothered to notice was peeling.
Did you see the fresh
I
bread
could
stall
still turn
yet?
around. Text some excuse. They'd be annoyed but not surprised. Catherine always staying away. Catherine choosing career over family. Catherine who never needed them anyway. That last one was the lie they'd believed so long it became truth to them. I took the exit. Memories came unbidden on these streets. Age 8, asking for piano lessons. Mom's tight smile. We'll see, honey. We never saw. 3 months later, Bella got ballet, tap, jazz, and private voice lessons. When I asked why, Dad said, "You're so self-sufficient, Catherine." Translation: You're convenient to ignore. Age 16, working 3 jobs for college because they couldn't afford to help. You're so independent. We're not worried about you. 2 years later, they paid Bella's sorority dues, meal plans, spring breaks. When I mentioned it, Mom cried. Dad said I was selfish. Age 25, announcing my promotion to senior analyst. Mom said, "That's nice, dear," then turned to ask Bella about her new boyfriend. I left dinner early. No one noticed. That was the year I learned silence could be a superpower. The house appeared, number 428 Maple Street. Large, well-maintained, drowning in debt beneath its perfect exterior. The driveway was packed. Uncle Robert's sedan, Aunt Linda's SUV, Grandmother Dorothy's Continental. Everyone arrived early. That should have been my first warning. I parked, grabbed the folder, and walked to the door. Brenda opened before I could knock. "Catherine, you look so tired. Is Chicago stressing you out?" Not, "How are you?" Just concern about appearances. "I'm fine, Mom." James appeared, hand extended. We'd never been huggers. "Catherine, good you made it safely." His eyes slid past my shoulder, wouldn't meet mine. Bella floated downstairs, phone already out for the perfect candid she'd spent 20 minutes staging. "Katie?" Air kisses. "You look comfortable." I was in black slacks and a sweater. She wore a designer dress that cost more than my car payment. "You look great, Belle." "Samuel got it for me. Early wedding gift." She flashed her ring, princess cut, 2 carats, platinum. "June wedding, garden venue. You'll be a bridesmaid, of course." Not asking, assigning. "We'll talk about it," I said. Her smile tightened. Bella didn't like non-commitment. From the dining room, laughter, voices, the sound of family and movies. I took a breath and walked toward it. The dining room table was a monument to performance. Every leaf extended, fine china, crystal glasses catching chandelier light. Autumn flowers spilling from the centerpiece. 18 place settings. I counted twice. My seat used to be middle left between Aunt Linda and Cousin Marcus. Visible, included, that chair was gone. Not moved. Gone. My place now sat at the far end, squeezed by the kitchen door. The spot you put people you're obligated to invite but don't want there. The symbolism would have been funny if it didn't feel like a knife. "Catherine!" Uncle Robert hugged me, genuinely warm. James's younger brother, the accountant who chose steady over flashy. We'd always gotten along. "How's Chicago? Still crunching numbers?" "Someone has to keep them honest." He laughed, but his eyes scanned my face. "You okay, Katie? You look tense." "Ask me in 2 hours." His eyebrows rose, but he didn't push. Aunt Linda cornered me by the window. Softer than Brenda, actually listened when you talked. "You look tired, honey. Are you eating?" "I'm fine, Aunt Linda." She studied me with a mother's bullshit detector. Your mother's stressed. Money troubles, I think. I've seen bills piling up, envelopes she hides when I visit. My pulse quickened. Did she mention specifics? No, but I offered help. She got defensive. Linda squeezed my arm. If something's going on and you need someone, I'll remember. Cousin Marcus intercepted me. 16, all elbows and opinions. Why are you sitting by the kitchen? That's weird. Good question. Ask Aunt Brenda. He frowned. That's messed up. You're family. Some family is more family than others, Marcus. Grandmother Dorothy sat near the head, silver hair perfect, back straight despite 78 years. She caught my eye, patted the seat beside her, my new seat by the kitchen. I sat. She took my hand under the table, squeezed firm and warm. How are you holding up, sweetheart? I'm okay, Grandma. Liar. She smiled. Your father said you refused to help them financially, that you were being selfish. Her grip tightened. I didn't believe him for a second. My stomach dropped. He told you? I confronted James. He admitted everything. Anger underneath her steady voice. What they attempted was unconscionable. Does anyone else know? About the debt? Robert probably suspects. He's an accountant. She squeezed again. About today? No, but I'm with you. I'm with whatever happens. How do you know I'm planning something? Because you're the only one in this family with courage to tell the truth. Before I could respond, Crystal chimed. Bella stood at center table, holding her wine glass and fork, face glowing. The room went quiet. My hand dropped to my bag, fingers brushing the folder. Showtime. Bella's smile could have lit the room. She'd practiced this, the angle, the pause that made everyone lean forward. I want to thank everyone for being here. Family means everything to me. Hand pressed to heart. Samuel and I have been so blessed with your support. She pulled Samuel up beside her. He looked uncomfortable, which made me like him slightly more. And today, Mom and Dad wanted to give us the most incredible gift. James stood, joined them. Brenda, too. The perfect family unit. 3 of them, not 4. They're giving us the house, Bella announced, voice breaking with practiced emotion. This house. They're signing it over so Samuel and I can start our marriage with security. The room erupted. Applause, cheers, whistles. Someone yelled, "About time!" Uncle Robert clapped, but his eyes found mine. Questioning. I didn't clap, didn't blink, just looked at James and smiled. Not warm. The kind of smile you give when you're watching a storm roll in and you're the only one who knows the roof is gone. The applause died awkwardly as people noticed my stillness. Bella noticed. Katie, aren't you happy for us? I set my water glass down with careful precision, let silence stretch 3 beats, 4, then looked at my father. Dad, I said, quiet enough everyone strained to hear. Should I tell them, or will you? James's face drained like someone pulled a plug. Brenda's hand flew to her mouth. Bella froze, champagne raised. Samuel looked between us, confused. The room held its breath. Uncle Robert leaned forward. Marcus pulled out his phone, put it back when his mother glared. Dorothy's hand found mine. This time, her grip felt like permission. Tell us what? Bella's voice went sharp. Catherine, what are you talking about? I reached into my bag, pulled out the manila folder, set it on the table. Didn't open it, just let it sit there, thick with truth. Before you celebrate Bella getting the house, I said, meeting James's eyes, you should probably know the condition it's in. James tried to recover. Catherine, not here. Why not? You weren't embarrassed when you decided to sign it over without telling her about the debt. The word dropped like a stone into still water. What debt? Bella demanded. I opened the folder. Property record, Cook County seal, numbers in neat columns. Slid it toward Bella. They're behind on payments, on 2 mortgages, the second taken out without telling anyone. They're months from foreclosure, maybe weeks. Bella stared at the paper like it was foreign language. Samuel reached for it. She let him take it. The room exploded. Questions, denials, gasps. That's not true, Brenda trembled. Why would you say that? Because it is true. I pulled out another page. Bank statement, red numbers. 6 months missed payments, April through September. Want to see October's notice? James lunged forward. You had no right. Public record, Dad. Anyone can pull them from the county assessor. I held his stare. I'm just the only one who looked. Uncle Robert stood, moved closer. James, is this accurate? My father's jaw clenched, teeth grinding. Answer him, Dorothy said, voice like steel wrapped in velvet. Silence. The confirming kind. Bella's legs gave out. She dropped into her chair, champagne sloshing, red stain spreading on white tablecloth. You said the house was paid off. Samuel looked at James, not Bella. Clean start. Miscommunication, Brenda tried. We were planning to handle— Before what? I asked. Before Bella signed papers making her responsible for over $100,000 in debt? Bella made a sound like breaking. 100,000? I pulled out the final page. Foreclosure notice. Official. Undeniable. Sheriff's sale scheduled January 12th. 8 weeks. If you sign those papers, you don't inherit a house. You inherit debt that'll drag you under. Samuel set papers down like they burned. Looked at Bella, at her parents, back at Bella. Did you know? He asked her. No, Bella whispered. I swear. But you never asked either, did you? I said quietly. Not cruel. True. Never asked to see papers. Never asked why they were eager to give away a paid-off house. You just accepted it because you always get what you want. She looked at me with something new. Not anger. Understanding. Finally. This is ridiculous, James blustered. You're making it worse than— Am I? Uncle Robert cut in, reading statements. Because these numbers say you're drowning, James. Second mortgage, 18 months interest, missed payments piling penalties. He looked up. What happened? What did you need $150,000 for? The question hung. No one answered. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out, read the text, felt something cold settle. Actually, I said, standing slowly, you're all about to find out, because someone else wants to ask that question. What are you talking about? Brenda edged into hysteria. A knock at the door. Hard. Official. Every head turned. The knock came again. James went white. I picked up my folder. That would be the investigator from Illinois Housing Development Authority. I filed a fraud complaint 3 weeks ago. She's here to interview you about transferring property to avoid debt. The room erupted. This time, no one was cheering. Brenda turned to me, mascara already running. How could you do this on Thanksgiving? You chose Thanksgiving, Mom. You're the one who made this public. I looked at all of them, my family, these people I'd never felt at home with. I'm just refusing to let you destroy Bella the way you tried to destroy me. Another knock. Louder. Someone should get that, Dorothy said calmly. The investigator doesn't like to be kept waiting. James stumbled toward the door like a man walking to his execution. Bella sat frozen, Samuel's hand hovering near her shoulder, not quite touching. Uncle Robert was still reading the documents, shaking his head. Aunt Linda had started crying, and I stood there with my folder and my boundaries and the truth I'd been carrying for 6 months, finally laid bare. The front door opened, a woman's voice, professional and firm. Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, I'm Lisa Warren from the Illinois Housing Development Authority. I need to speak with you regarding a complaint filed about fraudulent property transfer. From the dining room, we could hear everything. Brenda's sob, James's attempt at charm. There must be some mistake. Lisa Warren's flat response. No mistake, sir. I have documents here that require your immediate attention. Bella looked up at me, devastated. Did you know? When you came here today, you knew all of this? Yes. And you let me make the announcement anyway. I gave Dad a chance to stop you. He didn't take it. Samuel finally spoke, voice quiet. Thank you. Bella's head snapped toward him. What? Thank you, he repeated, looking at me. My father lost everything in a housing scam. I watched it destroy him. I swore I'd never— His voice cracked. Thank you for stopping this before I made the same mistake. Bella started crying. Real tears this time, not performed ones. Dorothy stood slowly, using the table for balance. She looked at her son being interviewed by a state investigator in his own foyer, at her granddaughter collapsed in her chair, at the family she'd watched lie to itself for decades. Then she looked at me. "I'm proud of you, Catherine. Someone had to tell the truth." "Even if it breaks everything?" I asked. "Especially then," she said. "Things that break were already broken, sweetheart. You're just refusing to pretend otherwise." In the foyer, Lisa Warren was asking questions, taking notes. James was stammering, Brenda was pleading, and in the dining room, the 18 perfect place settings sat forgotten, the turkey cooling, the performance of family shattered into pieces that couldn't be swept under the rug anymore. I'd come here knowing I'd detonate everything. I just hadn't expected it to hurt quite this much. Lisa Warren stepped into the dining room like she'd done this 100 times before. Mid-40s, plain gray suit, badge clipped to her belt, the kind of calm that came from years of watching people lie about money. She swept her gaze across the table, the untouched food, the spilled champagne, the documents scattered like evidence at a crime scene, the faces ranging from shock to fury to something like relief. "I apologize for interrupting your holiday," she said, though her tone suggested she wasn't apologetic at all. "But when a complaint involves potential foreclosure fraud and vulnerable parties, we move quickly." James stood in the doorway behind her, face the color of old newspaper. Brenda had collapsed into the nearest chair, hands shaking so badly she couldn't hold her wine glass. "This is a family matter," James tried, voice thin. "A misunderstanding between— Mr. Thompson, I've reviewed the complaint and the public records. This is now a state matter." Lisa pulled out a tablet, stylus poised. "I'll need to interview several people, starting with you and your wife. Then I'll need to speak with—" she consulted her screen— "Isabella Thompson and Samuel Hart." Bella flinched at hearing her full name. Samuel's hand finally landed on her shoulder, solid and grounding. "And Catherine Thompson," Lisa continued, looking directly at me. "You filed the complaint?" "Yes, ma'am." "I'll need your statement as well, to verify the documentation you submitted." Uncle Robert cleared his throat. "I'm Robert Thompson, James's brother. I'm a CPA. If you need someone to verify the financial records, I can—" "That would be helpful, Mr. Thompson." "Thank you." Lisa made a note. "The rest of you, I'm afraid I need you to remain available, but not in the room during interviews. Is there somewhere—" "The living room," Dorothy said, rising with her cane. "Come, let them do what needs to be done." The relatives shuffled out like students dismissed from class. Aunt Linda squeezed my shoulder as she passed. Cousin Marcus whispered, "That was badass," earning a sharp look from his mother. Only the principals remained, James and Brenda at one end of the table, Bella and Samuel at the other, me in my seat by the kitchen, Uncle Robert hovering uncertainly, and Lisa Warren with her tablet and her questions. "Mr. and Mrs. Thompson," Lisa began. "Let's start with the second mortgage. When was it taken out and for what purpose?" James opened his mouth, closed it, looked at Brenda. Brenda looked at her lap. "Mr. Thompson?" "March of last year," he said finally. There were expenses." "What kind of expenses?" Silence. "Medical bills," Brenda whispered. "I had a cancer scare. Tests, biopsies, specialists. It wasn't covered by insurance, and we—" "Mom had cancer?" Bella's voice cracked. "You never told us." "It wasn't cancer," James snapped. "It was a scare, false alarm. But by the time we found out, we'd already spent—" "How much?" Lisa asked. $60,000. James's jaw worked. "For nothing. For tests that said she was fine." I felt something twist in my chest. I hadn't known that part. Hadn't known about Brenda's health scare. Would I have helped if they'd asked honestly? Maybe. Probably. But they hadn't asked. They'd tried to trick me instead. "What about the remaining $90,000? Lisa continued, stylus moving. "A second mortgage of $150,000, $60,000 for medical bills. Where did the rest go?" James stood abruptly, chair scraping. "I don't have to answer these questions. This is my house, my family—" "Mr. Thompson, sit down." Lisa's voice didn't rise, but it carried weight. You can answer here informally, or you can answer at our office with attorneys present. Your choice. James sat. The business, he said, voice hollow. My business failed 3 years ago. I tried to save it, took out loans, maxed credit cards. When the second mortgage came through, I used it to pay off the credit card so we wouldn't lose the house immediately. But you lost the business anyway, Robert said quietly. Yes. Bella made a sound like she'd been punched. Dad, you told me the business was sold, that you retired early to spend time with family. I lied. James looked at his youngest daughter, the golden child, and something in his face crumbled. I've been lying for 3 years, pretending everything was fine while the debt piled up. Your mother's medical bills were just the final straw. Why didn't you ask for help? Bella's voice climbed. You couldn't have done anything. You're a 27-year-old with a teaching job and credit card debt from trying to keep up appearances. James laughed, bitter. You think I didn't know? You think I didn't see the designer bags you couldn't afford? The vacations you put on credit? Bella's face went scarlet. Samuel's hand tightened on her shoulder. And Catherine, James turned to me. Catherine was the only one with money, with stability. So yes, I tried to get her to sign those papers. I tried to make her responsible because she was the only one who could handle it. By lying to her, Lisa said flatly. By asking for help. You didn't ask, Mr. Thompson. You attempted to fraudulently transfer debt. Lisa looked at me. Ms. Thompson, when did you first become aware of your parents' financial situation? I pulled out another section of my folder, the one I'd been dreading. June 15th, 6 months ago. I slid the papers across to Lisa. They called me home for what they said was a refinance. These are copies of the documents they wanted me to sign. Lisa scanned them, eyebrows rising. This would have made you jointly liable for the second mortgage plus penalties. Did you sign? No, I took them to my attorney first. Patricia Morgan, I added. She identified it as a liability transfer attempt. I refused to sign. Bella looked at me like I was a stranger. 6 months ago. You knew 6 months ago and you didn't tell me. I didn't know they'd try to give it to you next, I said. Not until 3 weeks ago when you started posting about big changes and Mom kept calling about how excited you were to be a homeowner. You could have warned me. Would you have believed me? I asked quietly. Before today, if I'd told you Mom and Dad were in debt and trying to scam us, would you have believed me or would you have accused me of being jealous? She didn't answer, couldn't, because we both knew the truth. Samuel spoke up, voice measured. Ms. Warren, if Bella had signed those transfer papers, what would have happened? She would have become the legal owner of a property with $127,000 in outstanding debt, 6 months of missed payments, and an active foreclosure proceeding. Lisa looked at him directly. You would have started your marriage underwater financially. The sheriff's sale is scheduled for January 12th. If you couldn't pay off the debt or negotiate with the bank in 8 weeks, you'd lose the house and still owe the balance. Samuel went pale. My father lost everything in a predatory lending scheme. Watched him drink himself to death over it. He looked at James. You knew that. I told you that story. And you were going to do the same thing to your own daughter? We thought we could fix it, Brenda said desperately. We thought if Bella owned it, we could help her manage it. You thought you could hide, Dorothy said from the doorway. No one had noticed her return. Hide behind your daughter's credit, her future, her husband's income. You were going to let them drown to save yourselves. Mother, please, James said. Don't mother me, James Michael Thompson. I raised you better than this. Dorothy moved into the room slowly, leaning on her cane. Or I thought I did. Lisa cleared her throat. Ms. Thompson, Catherine, you mentioned filing the complaint 3 weeks ago. What prompted the specific timing? I met my grandmother's eyes. She gave me the smallest nod. I was contacted by the county clerk's office. They'd flagged the property because someone had requested an expedited title transfer with my parents listed as co-signers. I pulled out another document. This is the request form, dated November 1st. They were planning to transfer the house to Bella before Thanksgiving, announce it as a gift, and have her sign final papers next week. Jesus Christ, Robert muttered. They were going to blindside her completely. I knew I had to stop it, I continued. But I also knew if I just told Bella privately, they'd convince her I was lying. They'd paint me as the bitter older sister trying to ruin her happiness. So I filed the complaint, compiled evidence, and waited. For Thanksgiving, Samuel said. You waited until they made it public. Until they couldn't deny it anymore. Lisa made more notes. Ms. Thompson, Isabella, were you aware of any of this before today? Bella's voice came out small. No, but I should have been. She looked at the papers scattered on the table. There were signs. Dad asked weird questions about my credit score. Mom kept talking about how Samuel made good money. They pushed for a June wedding when we'd talked about waiting. Her voice cracked. I knew something felt off. I just didn't want to look at it too closely. Why not? Lisa asked, not unkindly. Because being the favorite was easier than being honest. The words fell into the room like stones. For a long moment, no one spoke. The dining room felt smaller suddenly, the walls pressing in, the weight of 3 decades of family dynamics collapsing into this single point. Ms. Isabella, Lisa said finally. Have you signed any transfer documents? No, we were supposed to sign Monday. They said it was just paperwork to make the gift official. Don't sign anything without an attorney present. Mr. Hart, same advice for you. We won't, Samuel said firmly. Then to Bella, we need to talk, alone. They stood. Bella moved like someone underwater, heavy and slow. As they passed me, she stopped. I'm sorry, she whispered. For all of it. For everything. I know, I said, but sorry doesn't fix it, Belle. You have to fix it. They left. The sound of the front door closing echoed through the house. Lisa turned to James and Brenda. I'll need full financial disclosure. Bank statements, loan documents, communication with the mortgage holder, everything. You have 3 business days to provide it. My office will send a formal request letter tomorrow. It's Thanksgiving, Brenda said weakly. Yes, ma'am. And you tried to commit fraud on Thanksgiving. The holiday doesn't change the timeline. Lisa stood. I'll be in touch. Uncle Robert, if you could assist with organizing their financial records, it would expedite the process. Happy to help, Robert said, though he didn't look happy. He looked tired and sad and disappointed. Lisa packed her tablet. Ms. Thompson, Catherine, I'll need to schedule a formal interview. Monday work for you? Yes, ma'am. You did the right thing. Hard thing, but right. She looked at my parents. You're fortunate your daughter cared enough to stop you from destroying your entire family. After she left, the silence felt like aftermath, dust settling after an explosion. James sat with his head in his hands. Brenda cried quietly into a napkin. Robert stood by the window, arms crossed, staring at nothing. Dorothy lowered herself into a chair. Catherine, sweetheart, help me understand something. When did you know for certain what they were planning? 3 weeks ago, when I saw the title transfer request. And you waited until today? Yes. That took remarkable restraint. Or remarkable cruelty, James said, not looking up. You could have stopped this privately. Instead, you humiliated us in front of everyone. Something hot flashed through me. I gave you a chance. At the table. I asked if you wanted to tell them or if I should. You could have stopped Bella's announcement. You could have told the truth. You chose not to. Because I thought we could still fix it. By scamming Bella? That was your fix? We're desperate, Catherine. Brenda's voice rose, mascara stained and raw. You have a good job, savings, a future. We have nothing. The house is all we have left. Then you should have been honest about it, I said. You should have told me about Mom's medical scare, about the business failing, about the debt. I would have helped you figure something out. But you didn't trust me enough to be honest, so you tried to trick me instead. Would you have helped? James looked up finally. Really? Or would you have lectured us about fiscal responsibility and walked away? The question hit harder than I expected because I didn't know the answer. Would I have helped 6 months ago if they'd asked honestly? I guess we'll never know, I said quietly, because you didn't give me that choice. Dorothy tapped her cane on the floor. James, how long have you known about the foreclosure date? October. And you planned to gift the house to Bella, transfer the debt to her, and let her discover the foreclosure after Christmas. We thought we had more time. Thought we could negotiate with the bank. Thought you could hide, Dorothy corrected. Catherine, how much did you spend on the legal consultation and filing the complaint? About $4,000. But Grandma... I gave you $5,000. She looked at her son. I helped Catherine protect your daughter from you. Think about that, James. Your own mother had to fund an investigation to stop you from destroying your child's life. James's face crumpled. For the first time, he looked old. Actually old. I don't know how to fix this, he said. You can't, I said. Not the way you want to. The house is going to sheriff's sale in January unless you can pay off $127,000 in 8 weeks. You can't. So the house is gone. Brenda sobbed harder. But you can stop lying, I continued. You can be honest with Bella about what happened. You can apologize to her. Really apologize, not the kind where you make excuses. You can downsize, declare bankruptcy if you need to, and rebuild without the pretense. Rebuild with what? James asked bitterly. We're 62 years old, Catherine. This was our retirement. Then you're going to have a different retirement than you planned. I stood, gathered my folder. A lot of people do. The difference is most of them don't try to drag their children down with them. Robert spoke for the first time in minutes. I'll help you find a bankruptcy attorney, James. Good one. We'll see what can be salvaged. I don't want your help. Too bad. You're getting it anyway. Because unlike you, I don't abandon family when they make catastrophic mistakes. Robert looked at me. Katie, you need anything? No, Uncle Robert. Thank you. Dorothy stood with her cane. Catherine, walk me to my car? Outside, the November air bit cold and clean. Dorothy moved slowly down the driveway, leaning on my arm. Are you all right, sweetheart? I don't know, I said honestly. I knew this would be bad. I just didn't expect... Didn't expect it to hurt? Yeah. You're not made of stone, Catherine, despite what your parents believe. She stopped by her Continental, faced me. What you did today took courage. Real courage. Not the kind where you're unafraid, but the kind where you're terrified and do it anyway. I keep thinking I could have handled it differently. How? I don't know. Privately, before it got this far? And they would have gaslit you, lied to you, and done it anyway. The only reason they're facing consequences now is because you made it impossible to hide. Dorothy cupped my face with a weathered hand. You saved your sister today, even if she can't see it yet. She hates me. She's devastated and embarrassed and angry. But she doesn't hate you. Give her time. A car pulled up, Samuel's sedan. The window rolled down. Samuel leaned out. Catherine, Bella wants to talk to you. Can you meet us at the diner on 5th Street in an hour? I looked at Dorothy. She nodded. Okay, I said. I'll be there. They drove off. Dorothy squeezed my shoulder. Whatever happens next, remember, you're not responsible for fixing them. You're only responsible for protecting yourself and telling the truth. You've done both. Be proud of that. Are you coming back inside? No, I'm going home. I'm too old for this much drama in one day. She smiled slightly. But call me tomorrow. Tell me how it goes with Bella. I helped her into her car, watched her drive away, then stood in the driveway of my childhood home looking at the house that had caused all this. It was just a house. Wood and brick and memories. But my parents had tied their entire worth to it, their entire identity. And when it started slipping away, instead of adapting, they'd tried to cheat. Inside, through the window, I could see them at the table. Robert was going through papers. James had his head in his hands. Brenda was on her phone, probably calling relatives with damage control. I could go back in, try to help them navigate what came next, or I could leave, set my boundaries and walk away. I chose the latter. I got in my car, pulled out my phone, and sent a text to Bella. I'll be at the diner at 6. Take your time. Then I drove away from 428 Maple Street, the folder still in my passenger seat, and let myself feel all of it. The guilt, the relief, the grief, the anger, the vindication, the loss. All of it at once. Because that's what truth costs sometimes. Everything. But at least it's honest. The Fifth Street Diner was a Riverside institution. Vinyl booths, checkerboard floors, waitresses who'd been there since the Reagan administration. I slid into a booth by the window and ordered coffee I didn't want, just to have something to do with my hands. They arrived 15 minutes later. Bella's eyes were swollen from crying. Samuel looked exhausted but steady. They sat across from me. The waitress took their order. Coffee for Samuel, nothing for Bella. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Bella said, "I need you to know something." I waited. I knew, not everything. Not about the debt or the foreclosure, but I knew something was wrong. She twisted her napkin. Mom kept asking weird questions about my credit. Dad wanted to know Samuel's salary, his savings. They pushed so hard for us to get married quickly, move back to Riverside, and I wanted to believe they were being generous, that they loved me enough to give me the house. "They do love you," I said carefully. "Not enough to tell me the truth? Not enough to protect me?" She looked up, mascara smudged. "They love the version of me that makes them look good. That's not the same thing." Samuel's hand found hers on the table. "I need you to know I knew something was off," Bella continued, and I chose not to look, because being the favorite, being the golden child, it felt good, even when it meant you got pushed aside. "Bella, let me finish." She took a shaky breath. "I watched them ignore you, dismiss you. I watched them erase you from conversations, from photos, from the family narrative, and I let them, because it benefited me. You were a kid. I was a kid for some of it, but I'm 27 now. I've been an adult for 9 years, and I never questioned why you stopped coming home. Never asked why you moved 4 hours away. Never wondered if maybe, you had reasons." I did have reasons. I know. Tears spilled over. "I'm so sorry, Katie, for all of it, for being complicit, for believing their version of you, for—" "Belle, stop." I reached across the table, took her hand. "I forgive you. Okay? I forgive you." She collapsed into sobs, and Samuel wrapped his arm around her, holding her together. I sat there holding my sister's hand across cheap diner formica and felt something shift. Not healing, not yet, but the first crack in a wall that had been standing for decades. When Bella could speak again, she asked, "What happens now? Now you and Samuel decide if you want to stay together through this. You see a therapist, both of you, together and separate. You set boundaries with Mom and Dad. You build a life that's actually yours, not a performance for them." "What about you?" Samuel asked. "What do you want?" "I want space. From all of them. To figure out who I am when I'm not playing the invisible daughter." I looked at Bella. "But I'd like to rebuild something with you. Eventually. If you're willing to do the work." "I'll do the work," she said immediately. "Whatever it takes. It's going to take a lot. Therapy, honesty, years, probably. I have years." We ordered food we didn't eat and talked for 2 hours. About childhood, about the patterns we'd been raised in, about what came next. Samuel was quiet but present, asking good questions, offering perspective. When we finally left, Bella hugged me in the parking lot. Really hugged me, not the air kiss performance version. "Thank you," she whispered, "for stopping them, for saving me." "Thank you for being willing to see it," I said. They drove away toward their apartment. I drove toward the highway, toward Chicago, toward the life I'd built away from all of this. My phone buzzed with texts. Aunt Linda checking in, Marcus asking if I was okay. Robert sending bankruptcy attorney recommendations for our parents. Nothing from James or Brenda. I wasn't surprised. They were still in the denial phase, still believing they were victims of my cruelty rather than consequences of their choices. Maybe they'd get there eventually. Maybe they wouldn't. Either way, it wasn't my job to drag them. I'd told the truth. The rest was up to them. As I merged onto the highway, I thought about Dorothy's words. "You're not responsible for fixing them." For the first time in my life, I believed it. Spring came to Chicago like a promise. The kind of morning where light hit the lake just right, turning the water gold and making you believe in second chances. I stood on my apartment balcony with coffee, watching the city wake up, and let myself feel something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the numb kind I'd perfected in my 20s, the silence that came from giving up on being seen. Real peace. The kind that comes from knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. My phone buzzed. Bella's name lit the screen. Bella. Therapy at 2. Still okay to meet after? Me. Farmer's market at 3:30? Bella. Perfect. Samuel's bringing his famous awkwardness. Me. Wouldn't be the same without it. 6 months. That's how long it had been since Thanksgiving detonated our family. 6 months of therapy. Bella in intensive counseling 3 times a week. Me in sessions every Tuesday working through 3 decades of being erased. 6 months of careful, painful rebuilding. It hadn't been linear. There'd been setbacks, arguments, moments where Bella slipped back into defensive mode and I had to remind her that I wasn't the enemy. But she kept showing up. That mattered more than perfection. My parents, on the other hand, had gone radio silent. No apology, no acknowledgement, just silence that felt like its own kind of verdict. The house had sold at sheriff's sale in January. A developer bought it for $70,000 below market value, planned to flip it. James and Brenda moved into a 2-bedroom apartment across town, filed for bankruptcy in February, and according to Robert, were adjusting. Translation, drowning in resentment and refusing the life raft. Robert had tried to get them into financial counseling. Dorothy had offered to help with rent for 6 months. Aunt Linda organized a family fund to cover basics. They'd refused everything. Too proud, too ashamed, too invested in the narrative that they were victims of Catherine's cruelty rather than architects of their own consequences. I'd sent one letter, in January after the house sold. Not an apology. I wouldn't apologize for telling the truth. But an olive branch. If you're ever ready to talk honestly, I'm here, but I won't pretend the past didn't happen to make you comfortable. No response. Dorothy said they'd read it. James had apparently crumpled it up, then smoothed it out and put it in a drawer. She took that as a good sign. Maybe someday he'd reread it. Maybe. I'd stopped holding my breath. My phone rang. Not a text this time, an actual call. Robert's number. Uncle Robert? Katie, you got a minute? His tone made my stomach clench. What happened? Nothing bad. Well, not exactly bad. Your father called me this morning. First real conversation we've had in months. I sat down on my balcony chair. And? He asked if I thought you'd be willing to meet him. For coffee. Just the 2 of you. Silence. Katie, you there? Yeah, I'm here. I watched a jogger pass 8 floors below, wondered what her family was like. What did you tell him? That I'd ask you. That I couldn't promise anything. That if you said no, he needed to respect that. Did he say why? After 6 months of silence? Robert sighed, heavy and tired. He's been going to therapy. Brenda refused, but James has been going alone. Twice a week since March. His therapist apparently suggested he needed to make amends with you before he could move forward. So this is homework, not genuine reconciliation. I think it started as homework. But Katie, he sounded different, humbled. I haven't heard him sound like that since we were kids and he broke Mom's favorite vase. I closed my eyes, felt the sun on my face, weighed decades of hurt against the faint possibility of something better. Tell him I'll meet him. Once. Public place. I'm not ready for private conversations. Mutt, that's fair. What about? No, Brenda. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I'll give him one meeting. Thank you, Katie. Don't thank me. I'm not doing it for him. I'm doing it so I don't spend the rest of my life wondering what if. After Robert hung up, I sat on my balcony for another 20 minutes, coffee going cold, watching the city and feeling the weight of what I'd just agreed to. We met on neutral ground, a Starbucks halfway between Chicago and Riverside. Generic, public, easy to leave if things went south. I arrived first, ordered my usual, sat by the window where I could watch the door. James arrived exactly on time. That was new. The James I knew showed up late, made you wait, established dominance through small power plays. This James walked in uncertain, looked around like he wasn't sure he was allowed to be there, spotted me, and hesitated before approaching. He looked older, not just 6 months older, years older. Gray at the temples that had definitely been touched up before. Lines in his face that makeup or good lighting used to hide. He'd lost weight. His clothes hung looser. "Catherine?" He stood by the table, didn't sit until I nodded. "Dad." He ordered coffee, came back, wrapped his hands around the cup like he needed something to hold on to. For a long minute, we just sat there, father and daughter, strangers who shared DNA and 32 years of history. "Thank you for meeting me," he said finally. "I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't sure I would either." "Robert said you're doing well. New project at work? Promotion coming." "Is that what we're doing? Small talk?" He flinched. "No, you're right. I don't know how to start." "Start with why you wanted to meet." He took a breath, let it out slow. "I've been in therapy since March. Court mandated at first, part of the bankruptcy proceedings. Financial counseling, they called it, but it turned into more than that." "Good." "My therapist, Dr. Weiss, he asked me to write down every time I felt like you'd wronged me, every moment of anger or resentment." James pulled a folded paper from his pocket. "This is what I came up with." He unfolded it, showed me. The page was blank except for one line. She refused to let me lie. "That's it," he said. "That's the only real thing you did that hurt me. You wouldn't let me keep pretending everything was fine. You forced me to face what I'd done." "I didn't force you to do anything, Dad. You made choices. I just refused to be part of covering them up." "I know." His voice cracked. "God, I know. And I'm sorry, Catherine. I'm so deeply, profoundly sorry for what I tried to do to you. For trying to trap you in our debt. For years of making you feel invisible because it was easier than seeing my own failures." I sat very still. This was what I'd wanted for decades. An apology. Acknowledgement. So why did it feel hollow? "Why now?" I asked. "Why apologize now, 6 months later, after ignoring every attempt I made to reach out?" "Because I wasn't ready before. I was too angry, too ashamed. I blamed you for everything falling apart because that was easier than blaming myself." He met my eyes. "Dr. Weiss asked me a question 3 weeks ago that I couldn't answer. He asked, what did Catherine take from you that you didn't already lose through your own choices?" And I couldn't think of anything. The business failed because I made bad decisions. We went into debt because I was too proud to ask for help honestly. We almost destroyed Bella because I thought hiding was better than truth." He looked down at his coffee. "You didn't ruin Thanksgiving. You saved it from being the day we destroyed our daughter." Something in my chest cracked. Not broke, shifted, like a door I'd kept locked was opening an inch. "Thank you for saying that," I said quietly. "But Dad, an apology isn't enough. Not for 32 years of being the invisible daughter." "I know. And I need you to understand something." I leaned forward. "I'm not the bad guy in this story. I'm not the selfish one or the difficult one or the one who tore the family apart. I'm the one who refused to enable you anymore. Those are different things." "I know," he said again. "And you're right. About all of it. You were always right. I don't need to be right, Dad. I need to be seen. Actually seen. Not as the strong, independent one who doesn't need attention. Not as the difficult daughter who asks too many questions. Just seen." He nodded, eyes reddening. "I see you now. I know that's too late. But I see you." We sat in that Starbucks for 2 hours, talked about things we'd never talked about. His business failure, the shame that ate him alive, the pattern he'd inherited from his own father of favoring one child while neglecting the other. "My dad did the same thing," James admitted. "Favored Robert. I was the screw-up. I swore I'd never do that to my kids. But I just swapped which kid got ignored." "Why me?" I asked. "Why was I the one you could ignore?" "Because you were too much like me. Stubborn. Independent. I saw myself in you, and I hated it because I knew how much I'd failed. Bella was like your mother. Charming, social, everything I wished I could be, so I built her up and pushed you away. That's not fair to either of us. No, it's not. And I'm sorry. For all of it. When we stood to leave, he asked hesitantly, "Could we do this again? Meet again?" "Maybe. I need to think about it." "That's more than I deserve. Thank you, Catherine." We walked to our cars separately. No hug. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it was something. Bella and Samuel were already at the farmer's market when I arrived, arguing playfully over heirloom tomatoes. "They're $6 a pound, Sam." "They're perfect. We're getting them." "We have a budget." "Which includes room for perfect tomatoes. Katie!" Samuel spotted me, waved me over with genuine warmth. This was new too. Bella and Samuel working as an actual team, making decisions together, building something real instead of performing something perfect. They'd postponed the wedding, indefinitely, too much to work through first. "How'd it go?" Bella asked immediately, reading my face. "Strange? Good strange, maybe." I filled them in while we walked through stalls of spring vegetables and local honey. "Do you believe him?" Bella asked. "The apology?" "I think I believe he's trying. Whether he can sustain it," I shrugged. "Time will tell." Samuel bought his tomatoes. Bella bought flowers, sunflowers, bright and honest. We sat on a bench in the sun, eating samosas from a food truck, watching families and couples and the whole messy, beautiful chaos of Saturday afternoon. "Mom called me again," Bella said quietly. "Wants me to convince you to drop the boundaries. Says Dad's trying and you're being stubborn." "What did you tell her?" "That you're allowed to have boundaries. That trying for 6 months doesn't erase 32 years. That if she wants a relationship with me, she needs to respect that I'm rebuilding one with you." "How'd she take it?" "She hung up." Bella bit into her samosa. "She'll call back. She always does. But I'm not budging, Katie. Not this time." Samuel squeezed her shoulder, proud. "What about you?" I asked him. "How are you doing with all this?" "Honestly, it's hard. I love Bella, but watching her family implode, knowing my almost-in-laws tried to scam us," he shook his head. "Therapy helps. And remembering that I chose Bella, not her family." "You don't have to deal with them," Bella said quickly. "If it's too much—" "I'm not going anywhere." Samuel took her hand. "We're figuring it out together. That's what partners do." Ikase, I watched them and felt something I hadn't expected. Hope. Not for my parents. Maybe never for my parents. But for Bella. For the sister I'd lost to golden child syndrome and found again through catastrophe. "I'm proud of you, Belle," I said. "I know that's weird to say, but I am." She teared up immediately. "Don't make me cry at the farmer's market." "Too late." We laughed and it felt real. And for the first time since Thanksgiving, I thought maybe we'd be okay. Thanksgiving again. Full circle. But this time, I was hosting. My apartment in Chicago. Small, intimate. Just the people who'd done the work. Bella and Samuel arrived first, arms full of food they'd made together. Samuel's famous mac and cheese. Bella's attempt at pie that looked slightly drunk but tasted perfect. Uncle Robert came next, bringing Dorothy, who moved slower now but still had that steel in her spine. Aunt Linda and her husband. Cousin Marcus, now 17 and somehow even taller. 8 of us total, squeezed around my dining table that wasn't built for dinner parties. No performance, no fine china, no pretense, just family. The version we'd chosen to build. James had called last week, asked if he could come. I'd said no, not yet. Maybe next year. He'd accepted it. That was growth. Brenda hadn't called at all. Had sent a card through Robert, thinking of you, with no return address and no signature. Baby steps, or maybe no steps. Time would tell. But here, in my apartment, with my chosen family around a table that wobbled, eating food that was imperfect and honest, I felt something I'd been chasing my whole life. I felt seen. "Speech," Marcus called out, grinning. "Katie has to give a speech." "I'm not giving a speech." "You ruined Thanksgiving last year with truth bombs. You owe us a speech." Everyone laughed, even me. "Fine." I stood, raised my water glass. A year ago, I drove home to Riverside knowing I was going to blow up my family. I did. It hurt like hell. Some of those relationships are still broken. Maybe always will be. I looked around the table. But here's what I learned. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is tell the truth, even when it destroys the illusion, even when people hate you for it, even when you lose everything you thought was family. Bella reached for my hand. Because what you might gain, I continued, is something real, something built on honesty instead of performance, something that can hold weight because it's not built on lies. Hear, hear, Robert said softly. So here's to truth, I said. Here's to the family we choose, and here's to being thankful for the courage to walk away from what was broken so we could build something whole. We clinked glasses, water, wine, sparkling cider, and the sound rang clear and true. After dinner, Bella and I did dishes while everyone else played cards in the living room. Thank you, she said, elbow deep in suds, for everything. For saving me, for giving me another chance, for… Belle, you don't have to keep thanking me. Yeah, I do, because I know what it cost you, and I want you to know it mattered. We stood there, sisters side by side for the first time in our lives, and I let myself believe that maybe family wasn't something you were born into. Maybe it was something you built. One honest conversation at a time, one boundary held, one truth told, one choice to show up, even when it would be easier to walk away. My phone buzzed. I dried my hands, checked it. A text from an unknown number. This is your father. I understand you said no to Thanksgiving. I respect that, but I wanted you to know I'm grateful for you, even if I can't show it the way you need yet. Dad. I showed Bella. She read it, eyes widening. What are you going to say? I typed carefully. Thank you for respecting my boundary. I hope you have a peaceful day. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but acknowledgement. Maybe that was enough for now. You think we'll ever have a normal family? Bella asked. I don't think we ever had a normal family, I said. But maybe we can have an honest one. I'll take honest over normal any day. We finished dishes and rejoined the others. Dorothy was winning at cards. Robert was losing gracefully. Marcus was accusing everyone of cheating. Normal chaos. Chosen family chaos. The kind that felt like home. Later, after everyone left, I stood on my balcony and looked at the city lights reflecting off Lake Michigan. Thanksgiving had come full circle. 1 year ago, I'd detonated my family with truth. Tonight, I'd built a new one with honesty. And for the first time in 33 years, I knew exactly where I belonged. Not at a table with an empty chair where they'd erased me, but here, in the life I'd built, with the people who chose to see me. That was worth everything I'd lost and everything I'd found.